I'll take it to the motorway, sweet, sweet racer. Ooh, I wanna take you there, show you off fancy cars. Ooh, a money maker. I promise we can take it slow.
기억나? 정말 옛날에 기억나? 그래. 자, 옛날에 그래. 기억나?
Makes me wanna grow. Never gonna give you. 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 Never gonna give you. It makes me wanna cry. I know I'm never ever giving you up. You're always gonna feel my love. It's so real.
Hey, what up? Can you hear us? Everybody, we're just gonna do a quick sound test here and then we'll be good to go. Say something, David.
Hello, 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 hello.
All right, I think we're good.
Hello, 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 hello.
right. Let's have a look then. Let's have a look. Okay, I think we're pretty much set. How you doing, man?
I'm good. How are you?
Pretty good. You know, excited all week for this one. We got a couple topics that we've been working on. We decided this week we're going to talk about teachers and education, all that. So we got a couple more podcast ideas in the works.
We got tons of ideas. Tons of them.
Tons of them. But the ones that are coming out sooner rather than later, we're going to start talk about genetics or genes. So we're going to talk about genealogy, you know, where people come from, their heritage and whatnot, as well as genetics. So there's lots of great topics to get into there. We're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about the internet on another podcast. I know that's pretty general, but we're hoping that one will be pretty interesting. Got some good discussions waiting for you there. And then, you know, we'll talk about movies. That's a pretty easy one. Everyone likes movies. We just had the Oscars. Thought about doing that this week, but decided that with this whole West Virginia strike thing going on, we should talk about teachers, because apparently they're pretty upset.
Yep.
Anyway, that's for the future. So I guess we'll get kind of stuck in here. Before we start, real quick shout out though. It's Women's Day today. So
Hey.
it's a good job, women.
Where my bitches at? I mean, love you ladies so much.
And you're killing it. Good job. You really... Yeah. Okay. Today we're trying to get sponsored by Dogfish Head, the best beer of all time. It'll get you pretty fucked up. But anyway, we're going to get going. So, David, I have a couple questions here for you.
Okay.
We're going to start kind of general. Just about teachers and school in general. You know, we're not going to delve into the strike just yet. We'll get to that later. But starting off, so you were public school throughout your whole life?
Mm-hmm.
Were you in school in New Jersey when you were up there?
I was. Yep. Public school through and through.
Gotcha.
I guess Montessori doesn't count.
What's Montessori?
It's like the preschool.
Gotcha. I don't know what that is. But
You use wood blocks and stuff like that. Supposedly, I was the smartest Montessori student my teacher ever had. So whatever that means.
We have a genius. We have a genius baby on stream today.
Yeah, and then I grew up and got done.
So I thought that'd be interesting first to talk about the differences in our schooling growing up, because as I've brought up 1,000 times, I grew up in England.
A Leeds man.
A Leeds man, and so I kind of wanted to talk about the differences there. I went to a all boys school in Leeds growing up, and it was like fairly strict compared to when I came here and went to high school.
I feel like there's more of that, of gender separation in schools, and that could be just because of I've seen sitcoms that do that, but is that true that like England has more?
Has more?
That separation?
I mean, I don't know about the whole country. At least where we were, we had 2 all-girls schools and 1 all-guys school in our area. And then we eventually became co-ed after I left.
Because we don't have any all-guys schools.
Really?
In this area, yeah, right? There's
What about
Madeira.
that? Oh, Madeira's the all-girls school,
Right.
right? Wasn't there some school called Gonzaga or something like that?
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah.
So anyway, man, how were the ladies like in lower school? How was that? Probably all kinds of ruckus, right?
No, it was total indifference until, like, I guess the boys started being annoying around, like, I don't know,
So that's what I kind of found too.
8 or 9.
When we started to get up to like 10 or 11, we started trying to like go meet people from one of the all-girls schools. And that's when you'd see like the viciousness come out
Yeah.
in some guys. They'd get real aggressive. And otherwise they'd be, you know, right lads all through and through up until that point. But yeah, so that school, it was a private school. When we were over there, we had the opportunity to either go to the Air Force school, basically, like the one that was on base, or a private school. And the Air Force school was like 20 kids, and the same as the American system. Or you can go to like a badass school.
I think I'm remembering a picture that I saw of you in your uniform. You had really long hair.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's a great picture.
we meet with a guitar?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, so... Yeah, because the thing is, we weren't actually allowed to have long hair. I started growing it because I knew I was leaving.
Ah,
So we had to keep it above the neck.
rebel.
Yeah. Well, you know...
Lashing out.
Lashing out, man. So how were your teachers when you were young? Are they always, like, nice? Like, do you remember any of them?
My first real crush was my 4th grade teacher. Miss Colley became Mrs. Something, at which point I lost interest. No,
That's-
but yeah, I had really nice teachers and I had really awful teachers.
Mm-hmm.
I think I was in New Jersey till 4th grade,
How old are you in 4th grade?
9,
9? Okay.
and I don't really remember much about my teachers there, but it was like every other year I went from having a really great teacher to a really bad teacher to a really great teacher. Like 4th grade was Colley.
Sorry, do you have one teacher the whole year?
In elementary school, you had your main teacher,
Mm-hmm.
or not? Yeah, in elementary school you had your main teacher, and then middle school you started like going around having periods. I think is how it worked.
Mm-hmm.
God, it's been so long. And then yeah.
Oh,
high
so
school,
like,
you have all
okay.
the periods.
Man, so you had one teacher, and if you didn't
Yeah, I
like
was
him,
just
you
hanging
were
out with Colley all day. You know? I mean, we would have like science class and another class with a different teacher,
Mhm.
but it was like we would always go back between.
Gotcha. Yeah, so I don't know if this was typical, because like I said, it was a private school, so public school in England might be different. I know they still have to wear uniforms at some, but other than that, we had like, what was it, 12 classes? And you had a different teacher for almost every class, except for your form room, which was like the first one you went to in the day.
Right.
And he was kind of like the administrative dude. Like, he would be just another teacher, but in the morning he'd make sure you actually showed up.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we
Like
had a
homeroom
lot.
kind of a thing?
Yeah, kind of like that, yeah. So we had kind of a lot. So for you, was it just like they were either strict and mean or just nice, and like that's all you really had to deal with?
Pretty much. I mean, there was plenty of teachers in the middle, but
Mm-hmm.
I think for the most part, the teachers that I had were really great, and they seemed like they wanted to be there, and it
Mhm.
wasn't like,
Gotcha. All the way through elementary, middle?
yeah. Middle school was. I hated middle school, but my teachers were actually pretty awesome. I'm trying to remember. 6th grade teacher, Mr. Tridle,
Tridal.
was awesome. Yeah, I think overall, definitely, I would say my teachers were pretty
Mhm.
awesome. There were a few that were awful, but,
Uh-huh.
you know.
Yeah, so it's actually quite a different dynamic than having the one for almost everything. Like we, for us, almost everyone would have every other teacher until we got older, but you just have them at different times.
I guess we did like go around. We had like our main teacher,
Mm-hmm.
and then she or he taught one of the subjects,
Yeah. Oh,
and
so
then
other
we
ones
would go around to like the other ones for
Gotcha.
history or
Okay.
science or
Yeah.
whatever.
So like everyone was specialized, and then we also had different sets. So like if you were dumb, like if you were bad at French,
They would just
you were in bottom set French.
Oh, God.
In which case you got a different teacher than the people who were smart.
wow.
You got top
Well,
set
I
French.
I think that there's you know, I think that makes sense.
Yeah, me too. I actually think that is better because like you kind of
Because you can focus, you know what you're dealing with as a teacher.
But the thing is, you really had to get second set French because that was Madame Sorel, and goddamn, dude.
Was that your first crush, too? What year was this?
Oh, I don't even remember.
That long ago?
I was at Leeds, so that's probably like between. I was also in senior school, so like 11 to 12
Oh,
to
that's fine.
13.
Yeah, that's like right in the thick of.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh, beautiful woman,
Okay,
Madame Sorel. If you're out there.
this got uncomfortable.
She was French. She had that little cute French accent. Anyway, so
Moving on.
But yeah, so the thing is, we'd have teachers like her who were awesome. They were super nice. But then you'd have like some like menace teachers who were just notoriously assholes, and like you were scared of them. Because what I noticed when I came to high school here is that they never yelled at you. Like no teacher yelled at you or like berated you.
Here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there, that's you'd get that. Like, if I didn't clean my
Right.
cleats after, the PE teachers would tear your ass up. Like,
Yeah.
just break it. They would never hit you, but they would really shout at you. So there was a lot of respect. There was a huge difference. Like, and I think this will carry it on to the future too. Like, you were a student, they were a teacher, and there was a huge gap. Like, you like respected your adults.
I think that that's important. I think that lack of respect, like if you don't instill that respect
Mm-hmm.
in a kid early on, that's not something that you're gonna just like develop out
Yeah.
of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that could have like a huge impact on how our society is today. With going back to last week, all the gun
That's true.
abuse
Yeah.
and people just don't respect other people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is kind of humbling, I think. But the thing is, it does have lasting effects. Like, for
Right.
instance, for a very long time.
There's pros and cons.
Yeah, yeah. Like, I was very. Like, if I ever meet anyone's parents, I've gotten more friendly over time, especially, like, doing this and just talking more.
Mm-hmm.
But, no, like, usually, I'm super. Almost professional. Not even, like, just being polite.
That's how I was raised, though.
Mm-hmm.
My mom would get on me about, you know, saying the right thing,
Mm-hmm.
always saying thank you, always saying please. She would like get on me about it.
Mm-hmm.
So that was how, and it served me really well. You know, I
Yeah.
thought that she was being unreasonable at that young age. I was like, why
Yeah.
can't I just, you know, why do I have to say that? But now, I over the years as I was doing it, I was recognizing the way that others were treating me as a response, and it was like,
Mhm.
well, that makes sense then.
Gotcha. The other thing that I've noticed too is motivation for how to do well was very different. So in the States, and I'm basing these all off high school because that's the only American school I did. But high school, you have a grade, right? You get a 93, you get an A. You get 87, you get a B, right? Or whatever the hell it was. And that was kind of not really up to the teacher, though I know people would go after class and be like, hey, can you bump me up a grade? Or they'd be friendly if a teacher and a teacher would like mark you well. Stuff like that.
Yeah.
But your motivator was the grade. Like, it was just following instructions, kind of. Which to me almost takes control away from the teacher a little bit. When I was growing up, it was very much like if you didn't do, you could go through the year and get to the next year as long as you didn't get kicked out, basically, and you passed your exams. So like, if you just crammed at the end of the year, and
It was like pass or fail.
basically, yeah, and you were measured against yourself. So if I had my report card, it wouldn't be like A. It'd be like you got a 73 on math, right? Which here is shit.
Right.
There, I could be green, like in the green,
Mhm.
because that's better than expected for me.
Right.
But then if I'm someone who gets 90s in math and I get a 73, I'm going to be in the red. I'll be below expected. So that's how you are up until you get to GCSEs, which is like their general education.
Mhm.
It's like the GED, is that what it's called here?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's the same thing there. So pretty much what happens. Who is that? Is that Unties with the host? Thank you, Unties.
Unties. Old Faithful.
Yeah. So it was kind of neat because I thought that was a huge difference. Like, I did what my teachers told me to because I was too scared of them yelling at me, right? But then here, I did it because if I didn't, I'd get an F, and I wouldn't
Right.
keep going. So,
I think that also, because I was like that at a young age too. I'm
Mhm.
not so sure that. I think that has more to do with your personality than
mhm.
necessarily. Because I mean, and I mean,
Do you think one makes you smarter though? Like, which one do you? Because essentially, one of them has more control by the teachers, one of them doesn't. Or
I
do you agree
think-
with that? Do you think that's actually true at all?
I think one may foster your focus.
Mhm.
Like if you're just naturally like into learning,
Mhm.
I think that maybe the British system fosters that better. But
Yeah.
I think that the American system might like kick you in the ass a little
Mhm.
better, because it's like you do have to make that grade.
Yeah.
You have to,
Gotcha.
or else you're screwed.
Yeah.
And I don't know what it's like, what high school level is like in England, but as you know, here it's like you get one bad grade and that will follow you
Mhm.
like into college.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
I don't know if that's
Well, there it's like you take your GCSE exams, which you take when you were 15 and 6. So
does that like establish your
that's your it's your GED degree, right? It's your high school degree.
okay.
You take that the equivalent of freshman and sophomore. And then after that you can do A levels, which is what you need to take to get into college.
Mhm.
But you can actually stop school after the GCSEs. If you
So if
want.
you score really high
On the GCSEs, like you'll get, they're graded A, B, C, D, whatever, right? And then you do A levels, which is like you choose to focus on 3 things, and then you go.
but
to
let's say you
university.
get an A and then you say I'm not going to college.
Oh, then yeah, that's
What can you like? Does your job, like, is your resume that?
Oh, it's just like,
Or-
did you pass your GCSEs? And then you're like, I want to go work at a factory or
Right.
whatever, right? Like a trade school or something like that. Which they incentivize a lot more over there. Like here, it's like,
Which is definitely different
Yeah.
here.
yeah, here it's like you're going to college. If you don't go to college, you're going to Nova, and if you're going to Nova,
Right.
right? Which I've always thought was kind of weird, just because college is kind of a mess. But we'll get into that later, maybe. Maybe today, maybe a different talk, because college itself. I was wondering if we should put that on this.
We'll see where it goes.
Yeah. But regardless of the teachers, like, I think that there is a big difference in how much they can do in England versus what they can do here. One of the common complaints I've heard is that teachers are so limited here in what they can and can't do because they're not allowed to yell at people. They're not really even allowed to get close to people because there's so much like suing going on, right? Like people
Mhm.
are scared to actually put in that extra effort.
Yeah.
It's like, what do you think? Like, do you think that?
I think that, yeah, it's being oversensitive for
Mhm.
sure, but nobody wants to be or have the kid who is a victim of something like that,
Yeah.
where it's actually wrong. I mean, I don't know. You see it in the news every other week.
Mm-hmm.
I just saw it like a few days ago. I think it was on H3H. They talked about it. It was this 26-year-old teacher, and she had a sexual affair with a 14-year-old like ex-student or something weird. So
14?
like,
Holy
yeah,
shit,
it
yeah.
happens frequently as it is, even with the culture that we have.
Yeah, I'm not actually sure if that happens as much in the UK, or if I just didn't hear about it because the internet wasn't as
Right.
big, which is very possible.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know I've heard a lot about it here. But
Plus, that kind of shit sells newspapers, so of course it's going to be like blown up.
that's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is a huge thing. So if we look at the West Virginia
Yeah.
thing, did you read into that at all?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, so they were out for 9 days. It was about 22,000 teachers, which left almost 300,000 kids out of class. So they were complaining because they got given a 4% raise instead of a 5% raise. And they were very adamant about getting that extra point because they are the lowest paid teachers in the year at 45,000. So I was actually kind of surprised by the number because I thought 45,000 was standard for like a teacher. Like I know they don't get paid that much, but do you think that that's too low of a pay?
Yeah. I think we need to throw as much money at education as we possibly can. I think we take military spending and send it to education. And
So my thing is,
where's the libtard? I know. It's
yeah, where? So the thing that I always worry about that though is because you said you had a lot of good teachers, but I gotta say there's a lot of teachers who I feel like don't deserve that much money. I feel like they do a really terrible job,
Yeah.
and that's. I mean, I'm pretty strict on it too. Like
It should be performance based. It's not like it should be automatic, but the teachers who do really well, you have to incentivize being a good teacher. Now there's no real incentive. Instead of you're making $45,000 a year,
Yeah.
you get shit on all day.
Mm-hmm.
You probably get shit on at home. You know.
So what if they're getting paid $45,000 though for 8 months of work?
Yeah, but teachers are working in the summer too. I don't subscribe to that. Like
You don't?
you're only eight months. No. Because you gotta, and I mean, like once you have your like curriculum set up, I guess it's a little more freed up. But
Yeah.
still. Like,
Because if you did actually increase that out to the year, they would be making the equivalent of 67,500 for these West Virginia people, which is a decent salary. If that would be what I did is that's 2/3 of the year, right? So
I'm following you.
yeah, you got me. You got me. Quick math. So I don't know. So to me, it's the because I'm very much into teaching. Like that's like a big motivator for me, right? And even saying that, and I kind of agree we should put more money into education, but like that salary number to me is not that bad.
Yeah.
What do you mean? Yeah,
It's not bad.
it's not
I don't
bad.
think.
But you think
And
that
what is that number?
45,000?
No, but like what is it?
That's the average salary of West Virginia teachers, which is the lowest.
For like the whole state.
Yes.
And for what level?
Public school. So
Just like K through 12.
I guess so. Yeah.
So the average teacher is making $45,000.
Yeah, and that's the lowest amount though. It's like to me, I kind of thought that this was a much bigger problem. Like I thought that they were getting paid like $30,000, or like not much more than that.
Yeah.
Which to me is a huge deal because you got to go.
Yeah,
through...
but think about the hours that they're putting in, like while those 8 months are happening. It's not like it's 9 to 5 and you go home. It's not like it's 9 to 5. You go home and you don't have to touch your job until you go in the next day. You're grading papers. You're talking to parents. You're working overtime.
That's fair. Yeah.
And you're only making 40. Again, you're getting shit on all day from every direction, literally. And that's if you have a perfect home life. You're only getting shit on for like 9.5 hours, 10 hours a day.
I guess that's true, but I don't know. To me, that like, it's a fair point. I don't know. Just 45 doesn't seem.
It's not. I don't think it's that.
But
it's
you
like,
think they
it's
should be
like
paid on the same level as like an engineer or something like that, like
Yeah.
80, 90 grand,
engineer,
something like that.
finance. You know, like all the smartest people shouldn't be going to like Morgan Stanley. We need to incentivize because our education system is not very good. I think
Do you think that's the fault of teachers, or do you think that's the fault of the system?
system.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's. I don't know. It's probably a mixture of both, but I think that the system is primarily.
Gotcha. Because there's a lot of people who are taking their kids out of school. Like, have you sort of seen this whole homeschool thing? I don't know how huge it is, but there's a lot of people who would rather their kids stay at home because there's so much limitation. And the people who I heard do that don't blame the teachers either. they blame the system for limiting what the teachers can and can't do. But there's a part of me that, like, because you have some teachers that really put in the effort,
Yeah.
and within whatever limitations they have, they're an amazing teacher, and those kids remember them for the rest of their lives.
Right.
But on the other hand, and actually probably more commonly, there's a lot that don't. Like, there's a lot that just fucking print their shit offline.
Right,
in.
but they didn't start off there.
Mhm.
You know, you don't just fall into being a teacher.
Mm-hmm.
You have to go to specific schooling. I think I touched on this last time. Specific schooling, you have to get your license, and it's not like you wake up one day and you're like, why? Like, oh, I'm a teacher.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't happen overnight. And I think that when you decide to become a teacher, it's because you want to teach and you want to like have an impact and you want to do a good job.
Yeah.
And then I think that the system kind of corrupts that over time.
Mm-hmm.
And then they become either like you just do the same thing. You're like, why am I busting my ass if I'm only making $45,000 and I'm only making 4% raises?
Mm-hmm.
You know.
So do you think that they should pull teachers from like other businesses instead?
Well, I think that if being a teacher were more attractive from salary, primarily salary, if they were making some bank, you'd have all the demand in the world, and then you'd be able to, like, imagine a world where you pick and choose who can be a teacher and who can't. Now it's like, if you do the time, you get the license, you can be a teacher.
Yeah.
But like, if you really were to interview and like a really high paying job, you know, super competitive, then you're ensuring that you have the best person in front of kids. Those kids learn way better and more, and society as a whole over decades becomes a lot better. And you have inventions like Facebook, or, you know, world changing.
Gotcha, because they're like actually inspiring these days. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what about like university teachers? Do you think there's like a difference? Because they actually do get paid.
They do get
a lot.
Tenured.
And honestly, I think they're the worst teachers I've ever had.
Really?
Yeah. In university, my best teacher was for an elective, and I hated him because he made me fucking get iTunes on my computer to listen to his podcasts.
God.
Funny how it works out, huh? But he had podcasts where he'd talk about like books or history or some shit. But he
in lieu of class,
like
instead of.
No. You'd go to class, but then that was like your homework, and you'd do something.
Have to listen to this fucking guy for homework.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
What,
and like to
you
me,
like this guy?
So that's the thing. I fucking hated him for like the first week. It's actually the same class I met Liz, but I hated this guy. I was like, what a dickhead, what a pretentious asshole. But he put in a lot of effort. Like, those
Who the hell makes podcasts? What a fucking asshole.
I don't know, but the thing is, it was really good. That was the best class I took. The whole time. Like, more than my computer science classes. Because, like, he really put in that extra effort. Like, he would actually have discussions with you. Things weren't based on, like, strict rubrics like a lot of classes are. Like, he would, like, read and actually put in effort.
What was it? What was the class?
Oh, it was a history class. It was like a study of...
wasn't it like some Asian culture or something? Wasn't it like really specific, or like an African culture?
Oh, shit. Medieval. It was medieval history.
Oh.
It talks a lot about the Crusades. It talks about how Jewish people get fucked like constantly through history. A lot of that. Yeah, buddy. I just saw something real quick. People go into teaching as a fallback.
That's true. They say that if you can't do, teach.
Yeah. And to me, that's like kind of...
that's a hell of a thing to fall back to.
Yeah, because... Well, so that's why, like, I kind of agree with it. I think it should be a very strict job. I think it should be... If they're going to make it paid like that, it can't be the same system, right? That they have right now. It has to be a very vetted system.
I think you have to introduce the salary before that would happen.
Really? Oh, yeah. That's true. Actually, that's a good point, because otherwise no one's going to go through that process.
Right.
Yeah. No, and that... Man, having it as a fallback... like to me that's just a huge issue, because I think teaching is actually really fucking hard.
Yeah.
Like you have to be someone who likes it. Like,
To be good at it.
yeah. I mean, personally, I like it. I've actually always wanted to be a teacher. The way I kind of shifted away from it. Well, actually, it's a big reason why I want to do these podcasts. I feel like being a teacher, being a public figure is a way to teach, right? Essentially, we're talking and they're listening, and like I try to put in a lot.
Are you listening? Huh?
But but and by public figure, I know there's like fucking 10 people maybe in this
If that.
in this call, right? But putting yourself out there, like the kind of little mantra that I have is the sun always shines. Like if you're someone who wants to teach, like you always have to be an example. Like you can't stop, like because people are
Right.
always looking at you. So it's very, very difficult, and it's basically a lifelong thing.
That reminds me of like you go like when did this happen where you realized that your teachers were actual people who like didn't live at school, you know? Like that happened to me very late when I realized, wait, this is an actual person who like has a life outside of this.
I think it was when I came to the States
Yeah.
and I saw the history teacher, Mrs. Burns. She was actually a very attractive lady too.
Jesus Christ.
So she was, man. What do you want me to do, huh? What am I gonna do?
What am I gonna do?
But she, I saw her at Best Buy when I was working there.
And did that like shatter the?
It didn't shatter it immediately, but like just her and like in general the teachers being like, because like I said, I had that very split level of like they're my superior,
Right.
I'm the student, and once I started having classes here and like they would actually talk to you like you're a regular person, like that was when I kind of realized. So I guess 14, maybe 15.
Yeah, I think I was around the same time.
Actually, no, it was 16. I know exactly when. It was when I was a junior. It's after I cut my hair. Because I started to have a lot of fun at school after that point. I remember. Because like,
Because people weren't afraid of you.
I mean, probably, but no, but like, I would go into other people's classes. Like, so I was in the lunch. I did orchestra, but because I didn't do it straight away, they put me in like the younger people's orchestra, which put me in the younger people's lunch. So I didn't fucking go to lunch. Like I just went to my friends' classes. Like I would go to like Nima's English class and stuff like that, and I would just go in there, and like for some reason, like the teachers were just sort of like, "What are you doing in here?" But after doing it a couple times, they're just like, "Yeah, come in." Like they just let you hang out for a bit, and like it was very like, not friends, but they're like a real person.
Yeah. There was respect.
Yeah, and like that was just like mind-boggling. Like before, I would have been terrified to do that because it was against the rules, kind of thing. So I don't know, 16. Why did you ask?
I don't know. I think that's just like. I feel like that happens for most people at some point where they're like.
So you said it happened late. When did it happen for you?
Yeah, I think it happened like at
Around the
15
same
or
time?
16.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, 16.
That's a long.
That is a long time.
That's a you know.
Does
You're
that mean
almost through it.
Does that mean you're like relying on them up to that point?
Yeah.
Like
I think that I was for sure. They were part of school. They were this thing that I went to, and then it ceased to exist when I left.
Yeah.
And then I realized that.
Like how much they actually do.
Right.
Yeah. No, that's true. That's a good point. Yeah. So teaching, I don't know. Like there's a lot of, not actual teachers, but there's lots of roles, especially going through your life. So like first teacher is probably your parents, right?
Mm-hmm.
For, people whose parents actually put in the effort. Then you got your school. Then if you go to university, you got your and then when you go into a job, like what happens there? Because I think
You have to take the initiative.
you have to take the initiative. So I actually think that there is teachers there, and that's actually why, like, basically, if you have a good manager,
Right.
I think that's kind of
You have to have your Merlin, or
Merlin.
the person to
like your advocate.
to teach you everything. The master.
Gotcha. Like a mentor
Right.
sort of thing. And to me, that like. So I kind of agree with you with the teachers getting paid more, because the way I was a teacher and got paid more is by doing what I'm doing now, which is trying to be a manager.
Mm-hmm.
Because it is the same thing. Like, I don't teach them like, hey, here's how you do math. But it's sort of like, here's how you don't get fired by being an asshole at work or something like that, right? And it's just like a different kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I guess, I don't know. So I'm just trying to think, like, how would you break out of the... Because just asking for more money is probably just not... Like, did either side of the political spectrum push towards that?
I don't know.
Because, like, we got Trump right now. I don't think he did anything for it. But, like, did the other side do that too?
Yeah, I'm not sure. It's a good question. Hey, chat. You guys know? What was Obama's education policy like?
Well, I know the thing that he did was for universities, he'd let you get that.
Okay, yeah. So there's like
But that was for-
financial aid.
But that was
side
for
of it.
kids, though, not necessarily. That was like his education thing. I know it
Right.
affected students who were trying to make a buck or two. But yeah, I don't know if anyone's actually pursued teachers. So how would you even go about that? Like, would it just be kind of a universal pay bump? Just for numbers, real quick, I think the 1% bump was a $6.9 million
Increase in
cost.
yeah.
And that's
There was also a healthcare side of it as well,
that's true. Yeah, they have bad health insurance.
and they were making they I heard that they were you had to work out in order to get you had to log your
Exercise?
workouts, yeah, your exercise, in order to like have a normal premium or
Mhm.
something like that.
Holy shit!
Yeah,
Was
it was something like
they like
weird
strap
like
them
that.
to like Fitbits or something?
Yeah, I guess.
Jesus.
Yeah, there were two sides to that. There was the
Mhm.
pay, and then there was also
Yeah.
the like shafting on the medical coverage.
Because their public school teachers are government employees, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I guess local government.
Mm-hmm. So that's the thing. You never did a private school here, did you?
No.
No. So I'd be interested to know what that is like. I wonder if the difference in
Did
quality.
any of our chat members go to private school?
I'm trying to think. I know Shannon used to for a time, but she hated that school, so I don't think it could have been that great. She said she had some nice teachers, but it sounded very much the same. It didn't sound like there was any bump, and I imagine they were paid a little more being in a private school, or at least I'd hope so. So essentially a private contractor, right?
I'm not even sure how that works.
Hmm.
I guess, yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. Unties. What does Unties want? King Harbor, can you speak about the restaurant in school? Restaurants in school are terrible. I don't think we need to get into that.
Restaurants in school. That's so funny.
Yeah. So one thing to kind of mix a little bit back. I know last week we were talking about guns. We were talking about guns in school because of all the school shootings. Which, by the way, since we've had that talk, there's been 2.
Really?
Yes. There was one in Michigan and one today in Alabama. I think it was Alabama. Don't quote me, but I think it was. Which is nuts.
Yeah.
Like, it's not going away, whatever
No,
it is. Right?
it's not.
But, so well, the crazy idea that we were kind of joking a little bit about was arming the teachers.
Yeah.
And to
Oh,
play
God.
the devil's advocate.
I was
here.
hoping we weren't going to talk because
We're
it
gonna
makes me
talk
want to
about-
seize. Oh, God. All right, what?
Okay, so I was just talking about how passionate I am about the whole teaching thing. I think if I was going to be a teacher, it would be fulfilling enough, regardless of the shitty pay,
Yeah.
to a point. That's easy for
You
me.
can say that going in.
Easy
into
for me
it.
to say.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But like things like that, like defending your kids, like how much? Because I personally think that your teacher should have as much influence on a kid as possible in the time that they have them.
Where are you gonna end up on this?
So, like, if someone said,
Oh God.
here's a gun, learn how to use it so you can defend your classroom, in a sense, it would be going against what I just said to say no to that.
No, but that's
Don't
not
you
the
d-
point. That's not
I
the
know
point.
it's not the point.
I know, but that's not the point. That's still not the point. Because
Shouldn't they be willing to do that, though? They're already willing to go through all this
okay,
shit.
yeah. There are people in my life who I would protect with a gun. Should I be walking around with a gun? No. Should I
No.
have a gun in my desk? No. Why?
Next to the apples. Someone X up, man.
No.
No, but like, to me, but to me, it should be
shouldn't, that shouldn't be when you're like a highly trained person
Uh-huh.
with a gun, that doesn't play really into it, I don't think.
Mhm.
Like in that moment, your training kicks in.
Uh-huh.
It's not like-
I don't
it's
want
not
us to
like-
delve too much into
Yeah,
the actual
yeah.
gun. What I'm saying is the seriousness. Don't worry, I had a point bringing this up.
Okay.
My point is the seriousness of that. That's how serious they should take it. I think that, like, as ridiculous as that idea is,
Yeah.
it should be.
You're
a-
saying that teachers should want to
Yeah, like
defend
it should
their
be like a
kids.
public like,
Yeah.
but not just defending, like, in all aspects. So, like, if they really disagree with this whole system thing, they can't become jaded, or they shouldn't be a teacher. Essentially, is what I'm saying. But does that
Yeah.
weed out too many people?
Yeah.
Like, is it actually better that we have a lot of mediocrity?
This is a really, by the way, this is a really good school area.
Mhm.
If you want to talk about West Virginia or
Mhm.
some like not as great,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
to teach in those environments is horrendous.
Yeah.
Teaching in DC
Mhm.
is masochistic.
Yeah. Just because everyone's a rabble rouser.
Yeah, you got people there who don't want to be there. They're they're
Mhm.
just there because they have to be.
Gotcha.
I mean, I don't know. I don't really want
Well, yeah. No, I know what you're saying.
to. I don't, for whatever reason, they're not there to learn as much as.
Someone's saying the students in those areas don't care about their educations. So do you think that's up to?
I think that has to do with the family impact, family unit,
Mhm.
like what kind of what your parents instill in you. If your parents aren't, pick that back up. What was that?
Oh, I had a subtle dig at someone they noticed.
Okay.
Thanks for the coffee maker.
What were we talking about? Oh yeah.
Here, you finish your thought. I'll grab more beer. Awesome.
Holy shit. You're cut off.
Is your beer?
What was I saying?
You were saying.
Kappa 1, 2, 3.
What were you saying?
Oh yeah. All right. So
You were responding to the person saying.
yeah, they don't care
Students don't
about
wanna be
their
in that
education. I don't know. I think it's primarily a parent's job to kind of like get your kid to care at that point, because no kid actually cares on their own. Not no kid, but a very small amount of people, I think, care as a kid. You go because you have to. You wouldn't go if you didn't.
Yeah. But other than your parents forcing you to go, do you think the problems are lying with teachers or with parents or with the system?
I think all three.
All three?
All three are responsible in different ways.
Which one do you think we could solve?
The
The easiest.
The easiest to solve? I don't think any of them are easy to solve.
Well, just like prioritize, I guess. If we had to
I think
choose one-
priority would have to be in order to offer a high enough quality education for the people who want it to begin with, to get those people covered first. So I guess fix system / teachers,
Mhm.
because I think that goes hand in hand.
Mhm.
I think fixing that first, and then I don't know.
I mean,
I don't
fixing-
even know how you would get
Yeah.
parents to.
Fixing parents. I mean, parents in general will send their kids to school regardless.
Yeah, they have to.
Right? Yeah. Because truancy is a thing. They send cops after you if you don't show up.
Yeah, child services or something.
Oh.
Something like that.
Gotcha. Yeah. So let's take the parents out of it, I guess. Because that would have to be the last step.
Yeah.
So is it? You reckon it's just simple as just throwing more money?
I think it's a good place to start.
Because one thing I'll say is, where should that money go? Should it basically be salary, or should it be facilities and stuff like that?
It depends, I think.
Because like Langley had shit facilities, but it was one of the best schools in this area. I think it was
I
actually.
wouldn't say the facilities were shit.
I mean, they're pretty bad compared to like Chantilly, which is like this bomb ass like.
Yeah, well, their school was new, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Like,
that's
you
true.
know. I think salary over
Mhm.
amenities.
What about salary versus the teacher's education? Like their vetting.
Well, I think
process.
that teachers' education will come as a result. As competition for the jobs, for the teaching jobs, heats up,
Mhm.
people are going to have to differentiate themselves. And they do that by education primarily, I think. Education, experience, the same kinds of things that you would do on a normal job.
Mhm.
Yeah, I know that the vouchers thing was like when Betsy took her spot. That was like a big thing. She was saying that,
This is Betsy Davis.
yeah.
So can you kind of explain what this is? I actually don't know what this is.
I don't want to misspeak.
Okay. Here, I'll just quickly read this great article I found. School voucher is a certificate of government funding for a student at a school chosen by the student or the student's parents. The funding is usually for a particular year, term, or semester. So the voucher can be used to cover or reimburse homeschooling expensive. So we're
3.2.2. The negative effects.
the negative effects. Okay, so let's look at the positive. Positives. United States vouchers are usually funded by state. So why would you get these vouchers? By doing well in school? Like you compete for these?
I think it's for there have been some recent cases, case studies showing that in voucher system school districts, students attending the public school as opposed to the private school with the voucher tend to outperform their private school peers. Yeah, it had to do with like a skewing towards private school,
Mm-hmm.
which is not really where we need
Mm-hmm.
the money to go.
Gotcha.
I think that's what it was. It was the money was being routed to private as opposed to public. Correct me if I'm wrong, chat.
So actually, this is kind of interesting though. So if this is competition based, so that is another thing that I'll say about school in England. The only reason I wanted to do well is because I wanted to get higher than my friend so that I can tell them that they were dumb compared to me. And like, I have a friend called Peter, and I got a 69.
What's up, Peter?
Yeah, good old Peter. Crazy guy. But in Latin, I got a 69.5, which, like I said, sounds like a terrible grade, but there it's fine. And he got a 70. So he beat me by 0.5%. And he didn't let me lived that down for like 3 years.
Mhm.
Like that was just like a running thing.
Sounds like Peter's a dick.
Yeah, Peter was a dick. Hey, Peter, you're a dick. But the thing is, I would do the same thing. I would be just as big a dick to him if I did the same thing. The only person we could never do this to was an American guy who came here and got hunches on everything. Shout out to Greg.
Sup, Greg?
Smartest guy I know.
Can you make the chat bigger by any chance?
Oh,
Can't read this shit.
just get some glasses, man. Oh, more important, our faces, make those bigger. Okay, let's see. How do I make these bigger? I can't make it bigger, sorry.
There's gotta be a way, right?
I can't.
Just, yeah, that.
I just did that. It didn't work.
Oh.
I'll read it
To
off
get
for you.
really close.
Yeah, just lean into it, man. They want to see your face anyway. But I think competition could actually be a incentive, right? Take the teachers out of it. Having kids compete for things makes them feel a little bit more valued. Do you think that students don't care about education because the system's really bad? Like the syllabuses and rubrics and all that shit? Like maybe it has nothing to do with teachers. Because like I didn't give a fuck about math. I would go in there and I would just follow instructions. And that's all I did all day. Just follow instructions. Like, did I get an A? Is it because I'm smart? No, it's because I did what I was told.
I think the information needs to be conveyed, and like, you know how people they learn differently.
Yeah.
It needs to be conveyed, and it needs to cover all the bases.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
But do you think that that's an effective way?
What?
Rubrics and like strict grading like that?
Again, it has its pros and cons. I
Mm.
think. Like,
Because to me, it's really not. I actually thought that was. I think I got a lot dumber when I came here.
yeah.
To be frank, like, and I think it's a lot like what you said.
It doesn't promote creativity.
Mm-hmm.
It like kills creativity.
Yeah.
Because if you don't do it exactly as they want you to do it, then it's wrong and you fail and you lose.
Mm-hmm.
But who knows, you might actually be onto something like earth shattering.
Mm-hmm.
Usually not. Right,
Yeah.
Drawing dick butt on your test. You're not onto anything special.
But I think in both systems that would result in a lower grade.
With the voucher program, the parent gets the money that the government was going to spend
On the student.
their student anyway, and allows the parent to use that money to buy a private education for their kids or enroll them in a different public or charter school.
Oh, so if you're in a bad school district and you get one of these
Mhm.
vouchers, you can send them to a private school or a different school district.
Yeah, I think the big problem that people were saying was it was just like it wasn't fixing the problem. It was just kind of like
Moving it around. Oh, well,
it was
yeah. Mm-hmm.
It was further starving like an already
Yeah,
fully
'cause-
funded school system.
Because you would pull your best students away from a poor school and move them to a school that's and flood a school that's bigger, right? Okay, we have a question. What is the problem with giving people that choice to send their kid to the best education they see fit? So I think it's just what I was just saying, Joe. I think that what you would do is you would end up just shifting the problem.
I mean, but it's a good question because why shouldn't you have the right to do that?
So it kind of comes down to, I think, a mentality of, actually, you could even bring this down to like leftist views versus right views. Like, it might dampen the system, right? Because in the grand scheme of
Right.
thing, if everyone
You're looking
did
out
it,
for you and yours instead of
the whole system,
whole.
yeah. But at the same time, if making the whole system is what you end up going for, and your kid ends up being like a fucking McDonald's janitor, then you're gonna be pretty pissed about that. Like, What's more important, the system or the child's education? So
Yeah. But how do they receive the voucher? What is that based on? Do you know?
no, I'm not sure. I'm trying to see. There is a list of implementations here. Let's find the UK or US one. There we go. I think it's supposed to be kind of like a scholarship.
So it's like performance based.
I think so.
So I think
I think it is performance based. So you would. Yeah, if you were smarter, you'd essentially apply.
so I think that therein lies the problem, because if you're there are exceptions to this generalization, of course, but typically if your family has money and you have the ability to like get tutors or whatever, like outside help you may need, and then therefore you get better grades, and then you get the vouchers, and then you take those vouchers and go somewhere else, and then you leave like a poorly scoring student who may come from, you know, a less affluent family.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, okay. It's like alienating. So it's like it's even higher focusing these pockets of like, you know.
So you're just increasing the disparity.
Exactly.
You have the
Right.
1% essentially, right?
You bring your kid to another school that is already a better school, and then they get the money,
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to a school that may be struggling a little more, who needs that money more
Yeah.
than that other school, but because the other school has it, it's like a conundrum, catch-22.
Yeah. So Joe's saying, yeah, but everyone has that option. So I think this kind of really does come down to that very like liberal versus conservative.
Would it be that it would be based on need?
Based on need. Yeah. So
I mean,
kinda,
either way, it's like it just kind of skews.
Yeah. So this is actually just, yeah, this would really turn into a liberal versus conservative
so.
argument.
But we can probably go on to the next portion of education.
Gotcha.
Wouldn't you
So,
say?
before we jump down that road, I kind of have a mixed opinion. I would say I have
I don't think there's definitely not a right answer to that one.
yeah. It's one of those ones that wouldn't work too well. Like, I mean, if I had to answer what I would do, I would want the system to be fixed. But I would do whatever it took to get my kid to the best school, regardless of what that belief was.
It's the classic. I mean, the voucher system, I feel like, is the classic embodiment of capitalism.
Yeah. And I think you're going to leave some people behind. So what about this whole no student left behind thing? Like SOLs and shit. I thought that was...
Well, that has the opposite effect, right?
Uh-huh. And I kind of think that that's sort of a disgrace. Like, that's really bad.
Yeah, it's I don't know, man. It's like it doesn't work either way.
I don't know. I like my my set system, man. When I was in top set,
Yeah.
when I was in bottom set for sports.
Yeah, but I'm sure that has cons.
Not if you move up.
Well, so you were bottom set for sports. Did you feel? Were you actually? Was that a joke?
No, I was.
Okay, so
I was
did
a
you
ch- I
feel?
was a
Did
chubby
you
little
feel
kid.
like that motivated you to become better at sports, or were you like fuck sports? As a result?
No, I actually think that I always liked sports. I think that put me. So the thing is, when I hit my growth spurt, which was fairly early compared to everyone else, so for like a month, I was the big kid. I was like the big athletic guy for a month, and then everyone else had theirs. And then I became small again. But I used that, like, I wanted to move up the whole time I was at the bottom. And I don't know if that's just because I'm an ambitious person. Like, maybe most people just be like, this is just my lot in life. And honestly, that is the case, because there's a lot of people who were in bottom set who would just fuck around all day, right?
Right.
But I went to my teacher and I asked because I was kind of shitting on people once I hit my growth spurt. Like, have you ever watched rugby?
Yeah.
You know when you hit the ground,
Mhm.
you have to get the ball. So I would tackle someone, they'd go down, they would hand the ball away. I would be the quickest person up to grab that ball, which should never happen, and then I would go score it. It was basically like one man teaming the whole thing.
Okay.
Because like I really wanted to move up,
Right.
and like no one else gave a fuck. Like that wasn't impressive because everyone else was just sort of dicking around. But like I really wanted to move up, but a lot of people were just like,
I think that like, yeah,
yeah,
I think it's harder to get told that you're bottom tier in education, and then for that to be like,
mm-hmm.
oh well, I really want to hit the books, you know.
Uh-huh.
If you're told like you suck at soccer, it might be like, well, fuck you. I'm gonna like start dribbling down the street, and I'm
Yeah.
gonna show you, because I feel like sports, pretty much anyone can practice enough. But kind of like education,
Like-
it's that to a degree, but it's I
Mhm.
think it's a little more
Oh.
based on.
So real quick, back to the vouchers. I haven't heard of these merit-based vouchers. I thought it was everyone gets a voucher and you choose where to send your kid. Now that's kind of interesting. So to me, I wonder what would happen in that case, right? Like, it's not like there'd be a reset where every school becomes equal and you can just kind of choose one. Like, you would send your kid to what was the best school at the time,
Right.
right? So like, using this area as an example, everyone would probably try to send their kid to TJ or something, right? As long as they could actually get there in the morning. So, in that case, you would remove a school, right? Because you'd pull every student out of a school. Like, everyone was like, this school sucks dick.
Yeah. I honestly, I don't know enough about it to really
Yeah.
talk about it.
Vouchers do not cover the full cost of a private school. It only subsidizes the tuition. Only middle-class families and above will be able to use them without the help of other scholarships. Okay, so they're still limited. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So yeah, that you know, it increases disparity, like you said.
Yeah. So I think a lot of this will just increase disparity.
Then again, that could be what some people think is right, and
Yeah. I mean, we don't need dumb people anyway, right? Just fucking
oh, Jesus.
just arm them all with guns and see what happens.
Yeah.
No. So we're gonna
Holy.
we're gonna
hell.
shift we're gonna shift lanes here. We're gonna talk about university. So earlier I made a very mean comment to university professors,
Yeah.
except for that one guy
Yeah.
saying that I thought that they were the worst ones I ever had.
Yeah.
So did you have that experience too?
No, I thought that my college teachers were way better than my high school or previous teachers. It's just it's different, you know. It's
Oh, I brought some props I was gonna show you. I'll show them afterwards.
well, why do you think that your teachers sucked so bad?
Because I never felt comfortable
Do
enough.
you think that they were mailing it in, or because like
I thought they were mailing it in a lot of the time. I also thought, so it's annoying. We had a teacher called Mr. McQueen. He was a computer science teacher, and apparently, if you ever went to his
what up,
office
Mr.
hours,
Clean?
apparently, if you went to his office hours, he was very nice and very good at teaching. But in his lectures, he was such an asshole. And if you ever asked a question that was in the book, he'd make you feel like shit, right? And to me, I was like, fuck you. I'll sort it out myself. And I did almost my whole career.
Well, so okay, was this guy? Because a lot of college teachers are also doing research, and as a part of that research, they teach.
So I don't know.
So I think that sometimes when you have a teacher like that,
To me, they shouldn't even have the fucking job. Like, those guys should just go fuck off.
right,
Like,
their ego is to like,
yeah, and that always annoys me because the whole point of people teaching is to try to make your job better, not to stroke their ego, right? But no, so I don't know if this guy was tenured or if he was a researcher or something, but he would kind of push you away. And I mean, it's my bad. I should have gone for help if I needed it. Goose Lee? Greg! He's actually here. What's up, Greg? Dude, isn't it like 2 in the morning right now? Greg! Greg is like the smartest guy I know.
Is he Mr. 100s?
He's Mr. 100. Worked for NASA for time being.
Okay, Greg, you can fuck off. you could just
He
get
helped-
the fuck
he
out
helped
of
me-
here, bud.
See, he showed me the difference between American and English
Is he American? Yeah,
college.
he's American.
He is American, yeah. So he went to Oxford, smart fucker. And
I hate this kid so much right now.
so he went to Oxford, and he went to be a physicist. And he had a 3-year program where he got his bachelor's. That's standard.
I would actually love to talk to this guy.
Yeah. Oh, he's super awesome.
We should
Greg,
have him on the pod. Hey,
Greg-
come on the pod, Greg. Let's talk.
Greg.
Let's talk space, bud.
No, he doesn't do that anymore, though.
Oh, never mind.
I'm glad you're watching, Greg. Thanks for tuning in. Also, you're the best, man. Oh, he logged off, that fucker.
What a dick.
Hate you, Greg. Never come back. But I called him physics. I was in physics too. I didn't know how to do it because I didn't get it from my teacher. I was learning out of the book, right? Because the teacher's 500-person lecture, right? Fucking sucks. All I do is play Poker Stars. Like, and I know that's not good for me, but the thing is, to me, he should have been motivating. Like, that teacher should have been motivating enough for me to not feel like I should play Poker Stars. Is my opinion.
That's yeah, okay.
I mean, I know it sounds like an excuse, but, and it is. But when I go home, but when I went home, I would put in the effort to get the grade, right? So it's not like I'm giving up entirely. But, like, the difference was I'd have other teachers that would actually motivate you, and you wouldn't feel like you had to go on your phone or talk. Like, you'd actually enjoy the class. And I had,
Right.
like, maybe 5 out of all of university that did that. Now, for him, he knew that physics so well that I could ask him a question, he can instantly type it back as if I was asking him, hey, how do you spell Washington, D.C.? Right? Like, just a random fact, and he knew it so well that he could just repeat it to me. And it was like some fucking, like, gravitational pull shit, like, orbit around 2 different things. Like, he just knew it. Like, he knew it really well. But, like,
Test me with financial planning. Test me, chat.
But here, you don't, like, yeah, I don't know. I didn't feel the same. Like, I don't remember any fucking physics. Like, I'm helping someone with their physics every week, right? And, like, for the last couple of weeks. And it's, like, basic stuff, right? And they're learning it there. But, like, I went through 2 years of physics. I went and got an engineering degree. And I don't know shit about it. I had to remind myself every single time. Like, isn't that kind of bad, though? Like, but the difference is the classes I had, like technical writing or public speaking, those were good teachers. And even that history guy, I remember a lot of those classes. And those had nothing to do with my degree. I never used them again. Well, technical
What
writing.
were the classes?
The history one. Medieval history.
Public speaking.
Public speaking, technical writing. Okay, I used those two. But the first one, that's the one that surprised me. That was freshman year. There's one class, one history class. And I remember a lot from that. Compared. And I wasn't necessarily interested in the subject matter. I wasn't necessarily interested in...
Were you really not? Like, you weren't going into it, but when he was telling you that stuff, were you like, wow, this is actually, like, pretty interesting?
Yeah, but he would...
Do you think that it was because of his teaching or because of the subject?
I think it was because of his teaching. I would never go and read that stuff. Like, I always used to be
Right.
very into military history. But he was only a rocket scientist.
French teacher are so fucking idiot. Oh my god.
Holy shit, Chris. Good job. Joe's brother just got into Virginia Tech.
Hey, go Hokies.
Go get some Carol Lee donuts.
Congratulations.
And what was the Mexican place?
I always forget the name.
God,
Elrod's.
Elrod's.
Yeah.
El
Jumbo
Rodeo.
Margarita.
Jumbo, only when he's 21 though, Joe.
Yes, 21.
Yeah, 21. But yeah, I don't know. There was a lot of. I just was very disappointed in it. Like, I came out the other side. For a long time, I didn't hang up my degree because I was like, I didn't feel like it meant anything. Like, I feel like I earned it from my books. Like, I didn't feel like the school did shit. which I think is a rotten feeling for how much I spent on it, right? And I think a lot of that has to do with the teachers, like just not doing a good job. But you said you said you actually liked your teachers. I want to hear what you're saying. I'm just bitching over here.
You said it. Yeah, I think my teachers had like such an understanding of the material beyond anything that
Mm-hmm.
I had seen in high school
Yeah.
or previous, of course. Then again, I was kind of like in a specialized major.
Uh-huh.
So I think that the teachers had to be, but I think generally speaking, I mean, like my finance 101 teacher was awesome. He was incredible. Forget his name, but like I'm never gonna forget the stuff that he taught
Mm-hmm.
in that class. David, how was the finance program? Oh, that's weird. Yeah, it was good. No, yeah, the finance program was really good at Tech. Again, I did like financial planning, which was kind of a separate one, but the normal finance one, like we had, oh God, what was it called? It was like this team that invested like a certain amount of money, and you got to use Bloomberg terminals and stuff like that. It was like the finance program was actually really good, and I mean that was a separate thing. That wasn't, you had to be like accepted into that.
Yeah.
Just because that being offered
Ooh.
was like I
Yeah.
wasn't part of it, but just that being offered was cool. And like you could use a Bloomberg terminal in the lab,
Mm-hmm.
which is like $20,000 a year
Uh-huh.
for one of those. Yeah, that's weird. Yeah, it was good. I was really like, I feel like I definitely got my money's worth.
Mm. Yeah, I don't know.
In-state tuition's worth. I don't know about out-of-state.
Yeah. No, I had a big grievance. Like now when I look at it, and I mean part of it is, like I hung it up. Like I'm proud of it at this point. Because
That was big of you.
it makes my mom happy when she comes and visits me to see it up there. But no, there's just a lot about it that I just was very upset about. Like we had a class, and I think the most motivated I was in my capstone. I was in the class with Ayaz actually, and we had a project idea.
Sup, Ayaz.
We had a project idea where we were gonna make an app, right? So like, hey, finally you're at your 4th year, you know all this computer science stuff, you can make an app, you can design the UI, you can design the business plan, and we were gonna make it. But then halfway through the class, not at the beginning, halfway through, they were like, hey, by the way, here are some forms that you signed when you joined school, and Virginia Tech owns 60% of anything you make in this class. Like stuff like that just killed it. Like we just phoned it in at that point. Because it was like, why the fuck would we try to make this world-changing app?
Dude, Tech's gotta get its nut.
Yeah, but they didn't do shit. They didn't do a goddamn thing. Like, Ayaz and I put in the
Hey, they
effort.
fostered the... They gave you...
No, but so my thing is they didn't. Like, the teacher didn't teach us anything that Ayaz and I didn't already know from playing fucking video games or looking at how YouTube's UI is laid out.
Yeah.
Right? So, like, stuff like that really kind of put a damper on mine. And it really was just a couple teachers that I'll remember. Like, I had a really great math teacher for discrete mathematics. I had a really great that history teacher. I even like him, and he made me listen to podcasts on iTunes.
Fucking podcast.
Yeah. Who does that? Who makes people listen to
And
podcasts?
douchebags. God.
But, yeah, and then actually the 2 speaking classes were helpful. The writing and speaking classes.
Well, I think that those were a little more interactive, right?
Yeah. And
So maybe that's just the way you learn.
that's true. Yeah, I'm not a lecture student.
Yeah.
Like
Some people are. Some people just go to lecture and that's it. And then
And,
like
like,
I
they
knew
can
plenty of people like that who just didn't do shit except go to lecture, and they did really well.
Yeah. I mean, I did very well, even though I'm not that person. I just never listened in lectures.
Yeah, but you were fucking off during the lecture, and you were learning it on your own time.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Nah, in lectures, like, so they let us bring our computers, which is bad. I knew I was gonna play Poker Stars, so I stopped playing.
How'd you do?
Poker? I actually got pretty good. You can't win money in Virginia, but I would enter the tournaments because the tournament started at the beginning of class, and I'd usually make my way to the end of the class, which meant I stayed in the whole time, which was pretty good. And then I would just turn it off. But so I would do that, or I'd play FTL, which is a great game. I stopped bringing my computer because of that. Started bringing just notes. Then I would draw, so I stopped bringing notes. And then I would just think about not the
So
class.
you left your brain at home.
Yeah, I would leave my brain at home. I would doodle in my brain. So yeah, I mean, I'm just not a lecture student. But to be honest, I think most of computer science is practical anyway, so I don't really think that's any fault of my own. You should be able to make everything practical, and you should be able to explain everything a little bit better. And I was just always a little salty about that because the concepts are not hard. I could explain it. I explained it to Chris when he'd first learned programming. I explained to him how it all kind of works. It took me 3-4 minutes. And if they just spent the time doing that little bit of basic stuff, then the whole class would have gone a lot better, I think. But
Yeah.
they just always kind of skip that stuff, which always...
So do you think... So you have your gripes with college.
Uh-huh. But I think
Do
it's
you
specific
think that
to the
it's
teachers. It's the
teacher?
teachers, not the system. Oh, the system, I think, is messed up. I mean, I think putting so much, like they put so much focus on sports, and I know it makes them a lot of money, but, like, I'm not going there to fucking watch football once a week. I'm going there so I can get a job and be the smartest person I can, and, like, I don't think that's where the focus is, in my opinion. Right?
I would disagree.
You disagree?
Yeah, I think that football, it was like, it's the main school spirit activity.
Yeah.
And that's I'm not all
Sorry.
for that school spirit thing.
Uh-huh.
Like and I'm sorry if there are any Nittany Lions in the chat, but when I went to Penn State and visited, and, like, when I was on the tour, they kept doing the "We Are," like the tour guide would, like, every few minutes you go "We Are," and then everyone around would go "Penn State." I was like, this is fucking weird. I don't like this at all. So, like, I'm not, like, one for all that school spirit stuff, but I think, like, it was cool to...
No, and I'm not going to say I disliked it. I loved the fact that they had football. It's very cool. But the thing is, I was not there for football.
I wasn't thinking about football in my classes or doing homework. I don't know what you were thinking about. Were your teachers teaching you, like, a playbook?
No, but what I mean is, like, there was a lot of problems, and a lot of teachers would not, like... I'd seen teachers who... It was like the assistant... Actually, I just brought up this point. Assistant professors don't make any fucking money, even though the school probably has plenty of money to give them. And they're the ones, like, working hard and, like, going to classes and teaching classes. Like, to me, that's just kind of bad. Because, like you said, there's no incentive for them. Like, they do it because they want to get tenured.
Yeah.
But, like, they shouldn't have...
And that's the argument against, like, paying teachers really well and taking the most educated ones. I mean, they wouldn't be doing research in high school, I don't think. Maybe they would. Who knows?
Yeah. I don't know. I have my grievances with it, for sure. I think it was important. It's just like... I may have just grown up in, like, with that kind of English mentality where I knew that when I went to university in England, I would take one subject and I would be the fucking expert on that. And that's it. I wouldn't waste any time of going to English or going to learn some random thing that I'm not going to remember. And all that stuff. I don't know. To me, I felt that a lot of the teachers were bad. But I did like. So I actually think a lot of the stuff that you people, that whole like, be a multifaceted person, learn English, learn this. I feel like they should do a better job of that earlier, before you go to university. And like maybe that means you have 2 extra years of high school if you want, right? Or something like it's some way to split the time.
I think that part of education needs to be not only learning what's in a book, but also learning about other people firsthand. I think that like studying abroad should be a requisite.
Oh, I got a great question before you continue.
Okay.
Explain your ideal school system like K through 12. So keep going with what you're talking about. Sorry, is this stuff you would add? Some stuff you would take away?
Yeah, I would put
studying abroad. You'd make that part of
Yeah.
the education.
You have to. You would have to go to experience some other place. You have to like, because I think there are things when you grow as a person, there are things you learn in school and from a book, and then there is an equal amount that you learn from experiences out in the world. And if your lens is like so like narrow, in that you just know what is around you and you know the people around you, and then that's it. There's nothing wrong with community, but you have to understand. And I think that like a lot of the fear of people, and I think that at least some of the immigration, oh shit, here we go.
Oh boy, here we go. We're gonna need another beer.
At least some of the immigration debate from the conservative side, I feel like, it's fear. It's fear-based, and I think that fear stems from the unknown, and it's unknown because it's never been experienced. Yeah. So I think that should absolutely be. I don't know if it necessarily needs to be like before college, K through 12, but I think
I really feel like it should be, because not everyone goes to college.
Like high school,
right? So I think if I was going to do a system like that, you don't even have to leave the country necessarily. I think that there should be school trips where you spend 3 months in Northern Virginia, and then you spend 3 months in rural Virginia, like in the South. Then you spend 3 months in the Midwest, and then you spend 3 months on the West Coast, or something like that. And like everyone does that, because then I think that would solve a lot of your problems, right? Because you would get rid of confirmation bias. You would get rid of the problem that I think is huge right now, and the reason I even thought we should do this podcast, which is like, I mean, all the people who said that, who voted for Trump, were kind of unheard of at that point. Like, the people who lived in areas like this didn't even know that they existed. So I think it's the same. I don't think it's just conservative people too. I think that like both, you're some farmer ass kid from the middle of fucking nowhere, you're gonna grow up with that mentality. And you're always going to have that mentality. And if that mentality is racist, then you're going to be a racist. There's nothing you really do about that, I don't think. But if you go live in, like, fucking D.C. and you meet a different set of people, and then someone from D.C. goes out to rural Virginia or some farm place for some part, and everyone's doing that, like, moving and rotating all over, I feel like you get rid of a lot of that problem. Like, and I think that would even build up your... like, you'd have to know what it's like not being at home.
Yeah.
For a point. Yeah, I think that something like that would be...
You got to get out of your comfort zone.
Yeah. You're always a new... I think being a new kid is extremely humbling. And I've done that a lot. And I think that actually can build a lot of character. But the thing is, you're not going to be by yourself. You're always going to be...
And empathy. Yeah. You build empathy not by reading. I mean, some people do. But, I mean, you really build empathy out of, like, truly experiencing what other people are going through. You can't do that.
I'm allowed to drink beer on Ties. I'm an adult. Let's have a look at chat real quick before we keep going, because I have another thing that I would add to schools. replace the whole thing with how to file your taxes. That's actually the second thing I was going to go to. I think that there should be different, instead of being a multifaceted student when you get to college, I think you should know how to do your taxes before you leave. I think you should know how to cook before you leave. I think you should know how to fucking wash your clothes and do all, like, home ec. I don't know why that's an extra class. Basic skills, they would only give that to the people who are, like, disabled. But, like, everyone should know how to do basic things, like cook a meal. Like, do you know when people are just like, oh, I just use a fucking microwave, like, and I'm like 27. It's like, Jesus, man, like, you gotta cook eventually.
I don't know. I'm huge into cooking, and
Uh-huh.
I don't know if it should be like focused on.
I think you should know how to use more than a microwave. And like, I know that some people are gonna live like that, but like, personally, I just think that, like, because if you're ever caught, like, I don't know, you should just have those basic skills. If you go your life without learning those things, you're missing out, right? Like, even
Yeah,
people.
you could say that for anything, though.
Yeah. But I think you should be given as many of those opportunities as possible. And I don't think that's expensive. You'd have to pay for transportation. Right?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know about that
Yeah.
one.
But like, you should know how to file your taxes and like do health insurance
Yeah,
and stuff
taxes. Yeah, I agree.
like that. Yeah.
As a financial advisor, I agree.
Because there's a lot of skills that you just go into being an adult with that you should have. Like, when you leave college, like, so here's the thing. Once you leave college, you don't have a teacher anymore, right? Until you maybe get a job and maybe get lucky with a nice manager. Like meh. But at that point, I feel like a lot of people go through a hard year or a hard few months while they're trying to figure themselves out.
Mm-hmm.
Like, say you don't go back home. Say you go, you finish school and you go move. Nutrition should be required too, right? That's what we're saying. So.
Oh yeah. I agree with that.
Yeah.
Well, like, how do you work a stove? I don't think.
Mm-hmm.
When to use stainless steel and when to use cast iron, I don't think, like.
Well, stuff like that, maybe not. Like, you'll learn that through experience. But
Right.
like, some people are actually scared of the kitchen.
Yeah.
Right. Like, they've a lot of people told me, like, I'll burn everything. It's like, you're gonna kill yourself. like you should never not knowing something should never result in possible death. Because like, you don't realize that you're not supposed to mix oil and water or something like that. Like, stuff like that you should know when you leave the house. Or like, how to do laundry. There's a lot of things.
Yeah, but those are things like, if you need to learn it, you'll learn it. It's not like you need someone to teach you that. You can fuck up eggs. You can burn some bread, and then like, you'll learn. You know, it's
Mm-hmm.
not. I don't know.
You don't think
I
you
don't think
should-
it's.
Oh, okay.
You should know like what a nutritious diet is.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you need to necessarily learn how to cook.
Oh, I don't know. I would hugely disagree. I think that's a very helpful thing.
So you think that we should put like the finite amount of time that we have
Yeah, because
in school?
I mean, how much time gets
People
wasted
don't,
in school?
but
though?
people don't like suffer from not being able to cook.
I don't know. Maybe cooking's not the one to harp on, but things like taxes you have to do. It's
Yeah.
law, right?
Absolutely agree with taxes.
And what are the other things that these guys are saying? So I was talking about presenting yourself and like selling yourself in a job. Do you think that should happen before you go? I actually think that maybe should be a college specific thing. I might
Yeah,
actually disagree
well-
with where you would do that.
In high school, he said.
I don't know if he said specifically, but he thinks that should be something you learn.
I think everyone should have a public speaking class in college. I mean, it was required at Tech, right?
Yeah, because they figured all these fucking nerd computer science people don't know how to
Well, it was
talk.
required in the business school too.
Yeah. And I actually thought that was one of my most helpful classes. I think that class and what I do here, like streaming and this podcast, all has helped me immensely. And like, there's books that I read. That
Ayaz is going in.
yeah. Well, no, because I mean, I think Ayaz actually shares a lot of my opinions about school. I feel like focusing on stupid history or sciences that you're never going to use. Like chemistry, when am I ever going to fucking use that again? I would much have rather have learned what I'm learning from a book called Crucial Conversations in a class. I think that would be much more helpful.
NEMA.
Yeah.
You use cast iron for proteins when you want to get a good sear. You use stainless steel for things that you, like fish, that you want to be able to flip easily.
Mm-hmm.
Scallops. You can do eggs in stainless steel. There you go.
Yeah. Okay, so Ayaz, the only thing that I'm saying maybe in college for a lot of those classes, I think that maybe you should have like a basic understanding after leaving high school, but like focusing on it, because like if you're getting like a factory job or a state job, you don't necessarily need to present yourself, though those are helpful skills to know. How to be intelligent, quick maths.
True that on ties.
Yeah. Oh, so Joe, you just brought Crucial Conversations. So I'm going to get into this a little bit because it's actually something that I want to, when I get off of having to work 2/3 jobs, I want to go to my developers and teach them this, right? I think the social side of things is huge, and I think that that's what teachers should also be very fluent on, which I don't think a lot are, even if they're nice teachers. Like teaching you how to talk with people. Like I feel like you're kind of a natural. Like I don't know.
What?
Do you consider yourself someone who's like pretty good talker with people?
Yeah. I mean, I can be uncomfortable in certain situations, but
I think everyone is a little bit, but like there's a lot of techniques that are very simple. Like I read that book and like you can immediately put into practice. I feel like a class like that would be immense, or just a teacher teaching you that.
You just ask people questions. People always want to talk about themselves. If you don't know how to carry on a conversation, just
no,
ask
that's not what
them
I'm
a question.
saying. I'm saying like if something's.
But that's what I'm saying. This is what I employ sometimes.
Gotcha.
That's my fallback.
Just asking a question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get
What
them
if
talking about themselves?
quick math? 5 seconds, 12 times 2, 24. Come on, Antice, dude. Ask something a little harder than that. Actually,
Quick maths. Oh my god.
you might be right, Ayaz. I may be dumbing it down a little bit, but I'm thinking like if you're in like a business meeting, right? Like I feel like a factory worker is not going to expect you to be very eloquent necessarily, but I could be totally wrong about that.
Well, it's about. I think that spoken word is less part of your job being a factory worker than it is someone in like a presentation format. So I would agree with that.
Yeah, I think Ayaz is on the same page.
Not saying that they couldn't,
Mm-hmm.
but it's just less of a.
So do you think I'm actually very into that social and behavioral study? I don't know if necessarily psychology or anything like that, but do you think that that should be a focus of school?
What should be a focus?
Like presenting, public speaking,
Yeah.
all stuff like that.
Yeah,
Because they
They
don't
should.
really do that necessarily.
I think they do.
You think they do it
Yeah.
in high school?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, I feel like you didn't have to present that much.
I had all sorts of projects I had to present.
Maybe I'm just not remembering that much. I mean, I know you'd have group project, or maybe I was just the one that would always do it. So. I don't know. Because I've never really been super nervous. Like I'm a kind of more introverted person, but as far as like talking, I don't think I've ever had a huge problem with it.
You just kind of don't really give a fuck about.
Yeah, but I was always very nervous though.
I used to be really nervous,
Now I'm not.
and now I just don't care.
Yeah, like I go into meetings with like a bunch of suit people, which is what I call any boss
Suits.
basically. Yeah, suits,
Oh, yeah.
right? And like I don't really mind too much.
Yeah.
Because
What does it really matter?
I mean, you could get fired if you said the wrong thing.
And then what? What does that really matter?
It's a very good point.
Hey, we're all just
So actually,
we're all just on a rock floating around, you know.
That's actually, so this is kind of separate from the talk, but and we're kind of running up to 2 hours, by the way. Should probably end this soon, but unless people are just having such a great time, but that's actually my motivation for a lot of things. Like when I was ever not doing well in school, it was just like, what's the worst that can happen? Like,
I think it's an important thing to think about once in a while when things just seem like so. We've all been there.
Like very
like so overwhelmed. Yeah.
Yeah.
You just need to like take a step back and like.
Yeah.
There's this thing. What's his name? The like famous physicist.
Neil deGrasse.
No. Like his idol.
Carl Sagan.
Yeah, Carl Sagan. There's like
pale blue dot.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The pale blue
dot.
dot.
I love that speech.
That's like everyone needs to see that
Mm-hmm.
because it's just like it puts things in perspective.
Yeah.
Your biggest fear and your like most crippling trouble is so insignificant in the grand scheme. I think that's like both humbling and comforting in a way.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I always use that as a motivation. Some people thought I was crazy for doing that.
His name is D-Lev. Agreed.
You're saying, am I fat? Hey, man, I'm slouching a little bit, all right? It's just a folded t-shirt, okay? You gotta lose a couple pounds. Why don't you back off on something? Drink a beer over here, okay? I'm not.
I would say it's too many chicken dinners, but we both know that that's not true.
Anyway, yeah. No, I always say that. I'm just like, what's the worst that's gonna happen? Am I gonna die? No. Or anyone I care about gonna die? No.
There's also my favorite quote of all time.
Mm-hmm.
Herodotus said in one of his writings or whatever, I forget what the story was called, but Xerxes was saying it in the story.
Mm-hmm.
It's far better it is to live life with a stout heart always than to be ever worried of what may happen and never incur a mischance. You know, like it's like you can't be worried about everything all the time.
Yeah.
Because you're not actually living your life. And then like you get to your deathbed, you're like 93 years old and you're like, all those things I didn't do because I was afraid, and here I am, like old age, you know?
Yeah. So what you're telling me is I should find Madame Sorrel.
Yeah, you gotta. If she's still a miss, not a Mrs.
Oh, she probably is a Mrs. Damn it.
Yeah.
It's okay. Yeah. I don't know. We're kind of up on 2 hours. We're kind of leaving. I think we're leaving teaching behind. We did talk a little bit about education today, but I think maybe we should call it soon.
I think education is just one of those things that is like more so a no-win situation.
Mm-hmm.
It's like so important, and everybody wants like good education, but it's just there's always going to be a lot of losers in whatever like change you make to the system. There's no like perfect answer, unfortunately.
Just because you're dealing with people, there's never a perfect answer.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, on that depressing note. No, I don't know. Any last words here before we close this guy out? Try hard in school.
Yeah.
It's important.
It is important.
And keep focusing. And if you're ever in a position where you have influence over people, don't take that lightly and put in a lot of effort, because you will make or break people's opinion of job, school, class.
It's all about that cash. Righto, Iaz.
Cash.exe. Yeah. So I think that's probably about it for today. We kind of started to ramble on a little. We got to stop doing that, man.
I think that adds character to the show. What does the chat think?
Oh, yeah, I don't know, guys. You want us to keep rambling? No, I don't want to anymore. I got to go to the gym. I got to lose. Untice call me fat,
fucking
man.
up, so.
Yeah. Fuck, Antais.
Well, thanks for watching, guys.
Yeah, thanks for watching.
Hopefully we're back next week.
Yeah, we'll get some more controversial topics so that we can yell at each other, because I think that's what everyone's waiting for.
Yeah, it'll happen. Don't worry.
Yeah, we've gotten pretty pissed at each other in the past, but we're starting off light.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll start off more drunk next time. That'll
maybe.
Anyway, we should arm the teachers, and I'll see you guys next week. No, we shouldn't. Anyway, have a good night, everybody. Thanks for watching. If you liked it, please subscribe or follow.
Just follow. It's fine.
Yeah, I don't have enough viewers to get subscribers, unfortunately. And if I see you in the chat,
wasu.
and I don't see you as a follower, I'm gonna be extremely upset. And that's all. See you guys later.
Thanks for watching. You gotta fade us to black before you hit the fucking music, Lucas.
I thought I'd fade the music in and then fade us out. I don't know. What's our cool send off thing?
Just click the button, man. Kill the damn thing.
See y'all later.